Hi, this is Kane Hodder, better known as Jason from Friday the 13th, Victor Crowley from Hatchet. You are listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum. Keep listening, or I'll kill you.
This is Charles Mann. You're listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum.
This is R.A. Mihailoff, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and you're listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum.
I'm Tom Devlin, and we're here with Midnight at the Monster Museum. Episode 12. We have a very special guest, R.A. Mihailoff, who you might know as Leatherface, and you might also know him as a couple other awesome characters, and we're going to talk about that. But, you know, the coolest part about having the Monster Museum is that we do, every once in a while, get these iconic horror figures coming through, and they either do signings or hang out, take photos, and we get to share them with the fans. But for those of you who didn't get to come out, we get to put it on the podcast and have a chit-chat with these guys. So let's get started. R.A., what is the normal day-to-day of your life?
Well, Tom, let me tell you, I'm a nomad. I split my time between Southern California and the Midwest. And my normal day, when I'm really running on all cylinders, I get up and watch the Beverly Hillbillies.
Well, as one should.
Leave It to Beaver, Perry Mason, and Matlock.
I love Matlock. You know what? I have been so fighting for, and it'll never happen, but I would love to see a Matlock Murder, She Wrote crossover. Because I think that Jessica and Matlock would hit it off so well.
It can't happen.
I know it can't. I know it can't. But it was always a childhood dream to see the Murder She Wrote Matlock crossover.
But you know who was on that show that is also a big horror maven?
Who's that?
Dan Roebuck.
Oh yeah, of course.
He was a regular on this series for quite a year.
Yeah.
Quite a few years.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, so a normal day. I read the newspaper, do my corresponding as the TV's on, really.
There you go.
I mean, Beverly Hillbillies is a must. The others are just...
They're filler.
They're time markers,
right,
you know what I mean?
I got you. And you travel around a lot and do horror conventions and signings and autograph stuff.
I do.
That's awesome.
I traveled all the way to Boulder City, Nevada to go to Tom Devlin's Monster Museum.
Yeah, and we were so glad to have you. We had a great turnout. We had a record-breaking day. And I think that was an awesome 2-year anniversary, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, I can't thank you for having me. I agree. It was a great day.
So let's step back in your career a little bit. First, before we talk about how you got into Hollywood, how you got into being a horror icon, you were a horror fan to begin with. Growing up, you were a horror kid.
Absolutely, yes. I can remember a very, one of those... light bulb, over the head moments. Yeah. When I was probably, 9 or 10 years old, I was in the drugstore with my mother. She was doing whatever mothers do in the drugstore, and I was spinning the paperback rack.
Yeah.
And my beady little eyes zoomed in on a paperback cover by Frank Frazetta, Conan the Adventurer. It was like I was struck by lightning. That thing just jumped at me, man. And I went, oh my God, what is this? And then, coupled with comic books, my grandfather finished his career as a barber. So he always had a fresh supply of comic books at the barbershop. And as the new issues, every month as the new issues would come out, he would give me the old issues. So I actually had a store-bought copy of Fantastic Four #1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've lost it.
Oh
yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. So that cover by Frank Frazetta, and I'm a mighty Marvel marcher.
Awesome.
The Marvel comics, and of course, creepy and eerie, and Uncle Forey's landmark
famous
publication.
monster film.
Yes,
Yeah.
that I would set in my room as a as a Ute, Your Honor. I'd be reading famous monsters of film, like, well, man, how cool would it be to play the Frankenstein monster or the werewolf or play the creature, any of those.
When did you? Where did you grow up?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
Just the Midwest.
You were in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So when did you? At what age did you make the homage to Hollywood? When did you jump out there?
Well, excellent question. The homage started earlier. One of my best friends in the hometown crew I ran with was the son of the town undertaker.
Okay.
I sent away for Dick Smith's
The Makeup Monster Kid.
Yep, the makeup
Oh,
magazine.
that's awesome.
Out of the back pages of.
I know exactly what magazine you're talking about.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, Dick Smith said mortician's wax. My buddy's dad's the mortician. So he gave us a bunch of mortician wax, and we'd start, making scars and bullet wounds and stuff like that. And then somebody had a Super 8 camera, so we got the K-Rose syrup and made a werewolf. I think we made a little werewolf movie. Glued some kind of nasty. I don't even know what the hair was. It wasn't hair, but we used the K-Rose syrup. Anyway, so that was my start.
Yeah.
And then as I got old enough in high school to join the drama club, man, I was chomping at the bit. The minute I could join the drama club, I got into that, and I hit.
And you're a big dude. You're a big, burly, muscular guy. Going straight to drama like that, did you get any kind of lashback? Were they like, "Why aren't you playing football? How come you're acting?"
Because I was playing football and wrestling too.
Oh, okay. So that's awesome.
So I was one of the major players.
I grew up in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, the home of Rosetta. Yeah. And to be honest, like, I played football, and I would do as far as the theater work went, at nights I would paint the sets. I would work on that. But I remember getting totally ridiculed for being into the weird movie shit that I was. Now you're not cool unless you like zombies. But at that time, you weren't cool because you like zombies. It was a different thing. And we grew up in a real football town where, like, don't be a sissy and play with drama kids.
Well, my town was like that. Yeah, my town was like that too. But my school was so small that there wasn't enough student population to separate into cliques.
Right.
Everybody had to do double duty or triple duty.
Yeah. That's cool.
But I was one of the best football players on the team. So there's only one guy in the school that could beat me up. So
there you go.
And he was one of my best friends.
There you go. So you got into drama, and then that led to
dropping out.
Okay.
I got sick.
I'm right there with you.
I got sick and tired of all the bullshit of studying and politics and everything, of academia.
Right.
So I just flat out quit, man, and I decided I'm going out and I'm going to do real stuff. So I went out, and my first job I got was working on a cross-country oil exploration team. My next job after that was working in an iron foundry. I went down and lived in a log cabin in West Virginia for a while. Then I came back and got a job on the railroad. I was a spike driving fool. I was John Henry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was really a spike driving fool.
That's awesome.
And and then I got laid off on the railroad, and I was baling hay for one of the local farmers, and his wife just happened to be the artistic director of the community theater. And she had also known me. She'd been a Cub Scout den mother and knew me since I was a
little guy.
Yeah. And in my part of the country, when you work on a farm, you always have a big, gigantic lunch, and you drink a half gallon of fresh milk at lunch, and then you lay out under the tree for an hour or so before you go back to work. And she comes up to me after lunch and she says, "R.A., you're going to be in my next play." I said, "Okay, Bonnie, sure, why not?"
Tell me of Mice and Men.
Huh?
Tell me it was of Mice and Men.
It was not. It was not. It was, believe it or not, the first play she drug me in on was She Stoops to Conquer.
I'm not familiar.
It's one of those restoration plays, you know. it's a comedy of manners and things like that. And I played a kind of minor part in the thing, but then for the next one, I got promoted, and we did Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
And I played Laser Wolf,
Awesome.
the butcher.
Yeah.
You know, to life, like I am, like I am, like I am, to life. Do 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 do. Then I got promoted again for the next one. We did, Jesus, come on, the one with the little kid that's please, sir, can I have some? Oliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Oliver. And I got a starring role in that one. I got to essay the role of that redoubtable, noteworthy Mr. William Sykes.
Okay.
The bad guy, the villain. Yeah, that might have been the defining point of my career, you know, because I got to play a real villain.
Guy. Yeah.
Strong men tremble when they hear it. They've got cause enough to fear it. It's much blacker than they smear it. Nobody mentions my name. So
That's awesome.
I got to murder and die on stage, and I forgot to tell you, in the meantime, when I did the play She Suits to Conquer, the head of the local college drama department was there in the cast, and he invited me to come up to the college and do a little bit for the homecoming play. And while I was there, I saw an ad for this Cleveland Playhouse Summer Theater School at the Chautauqua Institution in New York. I didn't feel like going to. I had at one point had vague thoughts of trying to go to Juilliard and really be a big deal.
Right.
But I abandoned those. But I said, oh, summer theater school. Summer's 3 months. I think I can hack that. So I applied and I got accepted, and I had a blast, man. I spent the summer at the Chautauqua Institution. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a quasi-religious arts community.
Okay.
It was founded on, like a Methodist or something like that, revival kind of thing.
Right.
But then it built up to an art community, and it's got its own orchestra. It's got its own opera hall. It's got its own playhouse, which was, staffed by the Cleveland Playhouse at that time. It's got a library full of art, art books and things like that. Welch's Grape Juice. Mr. Welch is one of the people that founded the thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just it's gated. It's walled, and it's on a lake. It's on the Chautauqua Lake in mid-state New York.
Right.
And it's just a cool place, man. I mean, I felt like I was kind of, like suave and sophisticated and cultured, coming, 6 months earlier, a year earlier, I'm bucking hay and shoveling shit, and now I'm hoity-toity, and I loved it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So, and that established, my work ethic as an actor by going to that school.
Right.
You learn things like be on time.
Be on time. That is one of the most important things in, I would say any industry, but definitely in the film industry, man.
Yeah.
You don't need people waiting on you.
Yeah. Exactly. And just everything. How to develop a character, how outside things influence the development of your characters, like something as simple as wardrobe.
Right.
The head teacher, instructor of the school, gave us a little talk one day and explained, as you're developing a character, it's influenced by the wardrobe you wear. And that's very true.
Very true.
Very true. Think about it. Let's go to something special effects.
Right.
Okay? What's one of... pick a suited creature you've done.
I can say that, I've done...
I just grabbed one.
Bartocular. Bartocular is a head-to-toe creature, but he wore loincloths and other drabs of fabric that shows that he was ancient and old.
But there was a human being in the costume, right?
Of course,
in the prosthetics and
Yeah.
stuff. So that human being, the actor that portrayed him, by the time he's completely wardrobed and made up,
Of course.
that's going to inform his entire performance.
Well, and I was talking to a creature suit performer recently, and the reason I like to use him is because he uses the makeup as that driving motivation. If it's uncomfortable, it's because he's an angry so-and-so anyway,
Right.
and he prefers to be tight in the foam latex and have that
Right.
rather than just trying to pretend it's there when it's not.
Right. That smacks of method.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you dealt with that even with on Chainsaw with the mask.
Well, yeah, it's very simple. You go to work in your jeans and your boots, or your jeans and sneakers and T-shirt, and by the time you go through makeup and wardrobe, you leave the mundane world behind and enter the magical world of movies. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and your whole mind can.
How different is it between stage and theater and being on set of a film for you? Because in stage and theater, when I watch it, I feel like they are living it and believe it the entire duration. Where when I watch a movie, when I'm there when we're making a movie, it's like 40-second to 3-minute action, cut, do it again. I don't know if they get that chance to live the character always. But then there's some actors, once in a blue moon, you'll see that guy transform and not turn back until the day's over.
Right. More power to them. And,
Yeah.
but me, on screen or on stage, when you're on the stage or in front of the camera, you turn it on.
Yeah.
Off stage, off camera, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, okay, now you're smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
You
Turn it back off.
Yeah.
Just be one of the guys. You're not somebody who goes and hides in the trailer so your real personality doesn't
Correct.
come out.
Correct.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm not,
Right. Some people are,
Yeah.
and that's their way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always different. Especially, I see it with putting people in prosthetics because sometimes just being behind the prosthetics is enough of a shield that they don't retreat like that. But sometimes, they'll go hide and not want to be around the cast members.
Well, I can tell, and it's not telling tales out of school. I'll tell you a little anecdote about Kate Hodge, my co-star in Chainsaw 3.
Yeah.
She asked the line producer to ask me not to approach her when I was in wardrobe.
Because she didn't want to get used to you.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
And I understand that, man, because you are already large and foreboding, but in that face and dirty, ratty, smelly costume, which maybe it didn't smell, but it looks like it does.
They wash it every day.
But
believe it or not.
it's one of those things where I could see her using that as
Yes.
fear, because
Yeah.
it's when you stand close to somebody, it's nerve-wracking to especially in full costume. So from the theater school that you went to in New York, how long before you hit Hollywood?
Quite a while.
Okay.
Quite a while. After the theater school, some of the teachers turned me on to a type of theater called outdoor drama.
Right.
They're all over the country.
Yeah. I've actually heard Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi talk about that.
Really?
In Michigan, they were involved with
I wonder what it was.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, it's a perfect training ground, so I went to Unified Auditions for Southeastern Theater Conference, SETC, and they held it at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and people from aspiring actors from all over the region, production stage companies from all over the region, from all over the Southeast, and as far away as Texas, as a matter of fact. Everybody came there. You got a number, you signed up, you got a number, you had 3 minutes on stage, and the producers and directors and everybody of the theaters would sit there and watch your audition. And then on the strength of your audition, you would be summoned for interviews at various places around the college, or the town. So I got a couple offers, and I ended up taking one in Texas for several reasons. One, It was a brand new, unproduced play, so I would get to create a character that no one ever did.
That's cool.
It was written by a Pulitzer Prize winning writer,
Wow.
Paul Green, and it was in Texas, and I'd never been to Texas. And the producer looked like Wild Bill Hickok, and I thought he was pretty damn cool. Plus, they were drinking bourbon while they were interviewing me. So I signed on, and I had a lot of fun down there. I spent a couple of years down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 seasons I went. But that was like a living movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I rode 5 different horses. 5 different horses, 6 nights a week. Sometimes at a full gallop across a dirt berm in the back of the stage.
Had you ridden horses before that?
Not a lot.
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
was one of the questions they asked me. And of course, like every typical actor,
Yeah, oh yeah.
oh yeah, I'm an excellent horseman. I'd been on, I'd ridden, but
Right.
not. I got real good by the end of the end of the second season. But yeah, so it was fun, Plus barbecue down in Texas, and we were right on. The amphitheater was right on the Gulf of Mexico, and the second season.
Near Corpus Christi area?
No, Galveston.
Oh, Galveston, okay.
On the second season, I was kind of like an old hand there, so the Wranglers would let me come up on my day off or whatever, grab a horse and ride down on the beach.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was cool, man. So I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I got to create a character. My name is in some book in Texas, because of that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if I tired of Texas or whatever, but I heard about this outdoor theater in Ohio.
Okay.
And they brought in a Hollywood stunt man to do the fights. Down in Texas, we were kind of choreographing our own fights and stuff like that. A Hollywood stunt man, and that was what I wanted to be when I started.
Yeah.
I'd actually written a letter to Benny Dobbins, the president of the Stuntmen's Association of Motion Pictures, before I left home. Mr. Dobbins, I want to be a stuntman. Is there any school I can go to, or any training or anything like that? Blah 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 blah. Back from Benny. No, young man, there is no school, there is no formal training. Blah blah blah. Okay. So when I found out that there was a Hollywood stuntman coming to Ohio to choreograph the battle sequences, I said, yeah, that's where I gotta go. So I loaded up my truck and I moved to Chillicothe, Ohio, that is. So now, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
The stunt coordinator for this outdoor theater, the show was called Tecumseh. It's still running, as a matter of fact. The stunt coordinator was Jim Winburn.
That name's familiar.
Oh, you may remember him doing the fall off the porch in Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But I didn't have any idea.
Right.
I just knew a Hollywood stuntman was coming out. So I'm pretty handy, And like I said, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do stunts. So me and Jim hit it off really good. And, I stayed in contact with him. When I got out to Hollywood, paid a call to his office, and, nothing was really going on or anything like that. But a few years later, so when I got to Hollywood, it was up and down, man. I mean, it was,
Around what years was it? Early?
I got there...
Mid-'80s?
81.
Early.
December of 81.
Okay.
December of 81, I think, is the year that I arrived.
I was born in 81.
Well, there you go.
That's how
I'm
crazy
I'm the same age as your dad, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
December of 81. Yeah. And it was rough going there for many years, for several years, Like I said, I paid a call on Jim Winburn, but,
Nothing.
he wasn't, he didn't have anything he could hire me for. And so, working a lot of what we call day jobs and things like that, you know. And then I got a call from, but I had an ace up my sleeve. I had read years ago, remember, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember those coffee table books, Life and Look.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't remember which one, But in one of those magazines, they had they profiled an aspiring filmmaker, George Lucas.
Oh, of course. There you go.
And they said that, when he did his first movie, THX 1138.
Yep.
Was a student film at USC.
Yep.
And he hired an actor. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. Bob Duvall. Did he ever make it? So this is another light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Aha!
Student films.
USC produces famous directors, and famous directors hire famous actors all at the beginning.
It does. It's true.
So I made,
My wife is a USC film alumni.
Oh, is she?
Yes, she went to school to be a director.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
And she's directed 4 feature films.
She did?
Yep.
Holy cow.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Good job, Lola.
Yep.
So I went down there and I just started doing as many student films as I had time for. There was absolutely zero money. They would always, when they put out a casting call, it'd be copy, meals, and credit.
Yeah.
Never got a copy. Sometimes they got pizza. And at least you got credit in the, so.
Yeah. We were talking before we came here about IMDb, how that's kind of changed things, because now you get that IMDb credit, and for early guys, it's like gold. That's like, I am legitimate, it's online, look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, because when I first moved to Hollywood, which I'm much younger than you, but there wasn't the internet like that. There wasn't IMDb. So I went shop to shop with fake resumes and pictures that I had made shit in my room and took pictures of. Oh, this is from Crude Awakening. We shot this, blah, 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 blah. And I just bullshitted my way into an effects job with fake resume,
Yeah.
And now you can't do that because they're just IMDb.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, they call your bluff. Yeah.
And it's like, those aren't real.
And that's I do that too when especially when I go to a con or something, and I'm not going to mention any series that has a lot of zombies in it. And I think they do a lot of walking.
The Golden Girls.
Well, no. And I believe it's set in Atlanta, outside Atlanta. Anyway, a lot of those people, who have been an extra on the show, they use that credit. They try to use that credit and bluff their way in.
I've met a lot who do.
Yes.
And, there you go. An extra is an extra, but that's kind of a bummer, too, because they'll add themselves uncredited.
Yeah. Well, that's even a cheat.
Yeah.
If you're uncredited, you're an extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're doing it as a favor for a friend.
Exactly.
I've actually seen some really big name people on IMDb uncredited.
Yeah.
But it's like John Wayne, back to my wonderful show Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
When he did the Beverly Hillbillies, he did an episode, he did a scene, and they asked him, well, Duke, what do we owe you? Just give me a bottle of whiskey and we'll call it even. So
there you go.
But anyway, let's
back to you.
Yeah, well, let's back to positive stuff. So
there wasn't a whole ton of work in '81, but it must have come shortly after.
No, not shortly. Oh, hell no. 81. Let's see. Well, okay. I did Chainsaw 3 in '89.
Yes. But before that, you told me of a story that involved C.J. Graham.
Oh, yes.
And an audition.
Oh, yes.
I'd love to hear that. Was that, how early was that? Had you landed a role before that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'd done a couple of things. I'd done, some of the early stuff.
As most of our listeners know, C.J. Graham is a great friend of the Monster Museum. And when you told me that on the phone, I was rolling. I thought that was great.
Okay, so back to Mr. Jim Winburn. Oh, well, let me just tell one more story about Jim Winburn, and it's going to tie right into this.
Sure.
Okay, so around 1986, some of the people I met doing student films and things like that were starting to matriculate up the studio system.
Yeah.
And the wife of one of the co-stars of Jeff Burr's student film was connected with a group that did.
Did you meet Jeff Burr as a student filmmaker?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's awesome.
Yes, and she calls me up and she goes, "Hey, all right, I'm working for this production company, and they're doing a live-action A-Team show over at Universal Studios."
Oh, that's so cool. The stunt show spectacular.
And they need to recast some parts, and I told them about you, and they want to see you. So I go up to it was Gary Goddard Productions, and he's pretty well known for making spectacular live action entertainment.
Yeah.
So I go up there, meet them all, and you can't really audition for getting beat up by Mr. T or riding around in a Jeep shooting a machine gun. You can't do that in an office. But guess who was the stunt coordinator of that show?
Jim Winburn.
Mr. Jim Winburn.
Oh, that's awesome.
So right away I go right down. I make a beeline. First of all, I've got Katrine, the girl that's working for the company. She's already got me endorsed. I'll make a beeline down to Jim Winburn's office. He gives me the good word. So, I mean, it was like, I got hired. Excuse me. And it was a fantastic job. It's so much fun. Shooting guns and getting beat up by Mr. T 8 times a day and spinning Jeeps, 180-degree spins with Jeeps, burnouts and stuff, and shooting Ruger Mini 14s with 30-round magazines, and two of them taped together, and we'd try to see how many rounds we could empty during a 20-minute show.
I remember this from when I was a kid, and I remember thinking it was real. Like when I was a little guy, I would go to Universal Studios on my birthday.
Right.
I remember when I saw the Conan Stunt Show Spectacular, I thought that was Conan. That was really freaking Conan, and I saw him, and I was so happy. And I remember being on that tram when the Battlestar Galactica guys would come attack the tram, and I lived the movies like it was so real. And I remember that one in Miami Vice, man.
Well, Miami Vice took over
the A-Team. Yeah. I remember that. I remember all of that.
That Conan show, I had a bunch of friends that got hired for that.
Yeah.
I tried, I originally auditioned for it. I didn't get hired for that one, but a bunch of my friends did. I loved that show.
Oh, I did too. When he sticks that sword in the snake's belly and it's like smoking. Yeah. I literally lost my shit because I was such a huge fan back then, and it was I lived in my imagination. So I was 5 or 6 years old. I imagined it so much that was them. I knew the movies were kind of not real, but I knew that I was seeing really Conan. That was awesome. Yep. Anyway.
So now we go up to now I'll tell you. Now we're rolling into the C.J. Graham thing.
Yeah.
So I get the contract ends. They decide to end the A-Team live action show. So I probably started to run out of money or something like that, and I get a call from who?
Jim Winburn.
Jim Winburn.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you, man. I think
it's all about who you meet.
Yeah, I think I need to go take that guy out for dinner. Says, "Hey, some friends of mine are doing a movie, and I told them about you. They want to see you. It's a movie called Friday the 13th. He didn't tell me number 6 or nothing like that. It wouldn't have mattered to me anyway.
Right.
He goes,
and you were familiar with the series, right?
Yeah. I'm sure I was. I mean, I'm sure I'd seen him.
Yeah.
But he said, "Yeah, you're going down to meet Frank Mancuso Jr. and who was the executive producer.
Yeah.
I got to drive on past the Paramount lot.
Yeah.
I sat in Frank
Mancuso's.
Yeah, Frank Mancuso Jr.'s Hollywood bungalow on his couch, knee to knee with the script between us, talking about the part, number 6. Well, Jason, for number 6, I hadn't done anything really big. I'd done a few things, but nothing like. This was going to be my big break. I was so nervous that morning, I almost puked brushing my teeth. So I get over there, and we have a nice talk and everything. And he sends me over to meet the. Tom McLaughlin says we never met, but I swear he sent me over to meet the Tom and Mike Nomad, the director.
Yeah.
And Mike Nomad and I really hit it off, of course, because I had that sort of still that residual stuntman vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he and I mean, this is before social media, before texting or anything like that. So we exchanged phone numbers. I think we even went out and had breakfast one time. So I stay in touch with him because I want this role, man. I want this role badly. And the choice came down to me and another guy. Didn't know the other guy, never heard his name, and the other guy got it. Oh, I gotta look back just a second. They'd already hired a guy for Jason in number 6, and they had him in Atlanta, and they worked him 2 weeks.
And they didn't like him.
They didn't like what he was doing.
Huh.
And so they recast the role. Now the irony of that is that guy that was originally hired for Jason is now one of the biggest stunt coordinators in the business.
Wow.
Yeah, his name's Dan Bradley, and I mean, he's coordinated huge movies.
Things. Wow.
Like, what's that one with Will Smith and,
Independence Day?
Independence Day. Just keep going. That's the kind of movies he's coordinating, So anyway, so this other guy gets hired. Then I'm going, shit, damn it. I'm really bummed out. So I was reading the trade papers, and I saw a review of the movie. So I want to see if they mention who got the part. Oh yeah, they did. CJ, he uses his initials too, that son of a bitch. CJ Graham. So now I'm really bitter. Because the movie came out. What year did it come out?
Came out in 87 or?
Yeah, something like that.
No, 87, I think.
Something like that. So I hadn't done Chainsaw yet, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward 10 years or whatever, I'd done Chainsaw. I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. I used to train at the world famous Gold's Gym in North Hollywood, brother. Hanging and banging. And this other big guy, long hair, big guy riding a Harley too, Hey bro, what's going on? Hey bro, yeah, your bike sounds good. Yeah, yours does too, man. Hey, saw you lifting earlier. Yeah, you're looking strong, brother. Yeah, thank you, brother. You're looking strong too.
So they all talk like Hulk Hogan do.
Huh?
You all talk like Hulk Hogan do.
Well,
world's famous Gold's Gym.
Yeah, tough guys. Hey, man, what's going on? Yeah. So, never introduced ourselves, never hung out or nothing, but always mad respect for each other, right?
Right.
And one day I'm doing something and I hear somebody go, "Hey, CJ!" I threw my shit down. I had some dumbbells and I threw them down and I walked over. I think he was doing incline bench presses or something. And I walked over to him and I got sort of in his face and I said, "Hey, man, is your name CJ Graham?" And he goes, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Because I've hated your guts for 10 years. And then, of course, I had to break kayfabe and tell him the unknown history, our unknown.
Your own unknown history.
Yeah. So, of course,
Well, it's so awesome that you guys both went on to be iconic horror characters, both for one movie, but remembered. I mean, I can tell you the honest truth. Last year, we had CJ on the same day we had you. It was our record-breaking day. Then we had you, and we broke CJ's record. So you kicked CJ's ass this week.
Oh, we're buddies, man.
He's the best. He's the best. And it's awesome to hear that little bit of history about how Leatherface was going after Jason. Could you imagine if you had landed both Jason and the fact that you knew Jeff Burr from college, you would have had Leatherface too. How hard was it to get Leatherface knowing Jeff? Or did you have to audition? Did you have to push hard for it? Or...
It was kind of like almost like automatic, done deal.
Wow. That's awesome.
Jeff and I have, so many mutual friends, and everybody's a film geek.
Right.
And what do film geeks do when they get together? They drink and they talk about films.
Yeah.
So everybody was and I found out that Jeff got the directing role by reading an article in the LA Times. Again, this is before texting.
Yeah. Back when you had Backstage West and all that.
Well, actually, the LA Times. And everybody, all the other film geek friends were at a party at somebody else's house, a 4th of July party. I was not there because I was too hungover from 3rd of July. Okay, and I guess they all bellied up to the bar, and talked about it. Well, Jeff, what are you going to, yeah, you got the new movie, congratulations, Well, what are you going to do? Well, I offered the part to Gunner, which is right and proper.
Right.
Jeff Burr has Jeff Burr has a great reverence for our business and the history of our business.
Of course.
And that was a logical and right thing to do, offer it to Gunner. Gunner was unable to successfully negotiate a deal with New Line.
There's been so many stories about how, I mean, I've heard it. He's passed away now, of course, and I've never got to talk to him about it. But in his book and his documentaries, he acts as if they just never wanted him back. Everybody made it so difficult money-wise, and he claims he was never asking for too much. It was like they were going to give his agent a stipend, and he's like, well, I don't have an agent. You're talking directly to me. Okay, then we'll take that stipend away and give you less. It's like, that's crazy, So, but I love the Texas Chainsaw franchise mostly because I like every iteration of Leatherface in their own right, and I like that he grew as a character based on, I always say Gunner was the baby, the invalid baby. Right. Bill was the teenager, horny, and you were just a mad, bad killer. You're the adult asshole. I'm gonna run one through you, and it wasn't so childish, and I love that. I always did. Right. And then Andrew Bernarski I thought was great too, but he's almost an amalgamation of all of them. I didn't, and I forget the guy who played Part 4, but I actually
Robert Jackson.
Robert Jackson. I actually really love Part 4, even though it gets a bad rap. But
right.
Whatever.
Robert Jackson's the only Leatherface I never met.
Oh, okay. He doesn't do the convention circuit.
He's dead.
Oh, I didn't know he was. I didn't even know.
I never met him.
I didn't know he was passed away. I didn't know he died.
He died before I ever met him.
Wow.
2005 was the first time I met Bill Johnson.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Well, also Jeff Burr, the director of Chainsaw 3, is one of my favorite all-time directors. I feel like he gets the shit end of the MPA all the time, but Puppet Master 4 and 5, Texas Chainsaw 3, Stepfather 2, I think he did, and Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings.
Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings.
Yeah. So I feel like he's the king of the sequels, man. He did amazing horror films. And I've always been a huge fan. I've met him briefly, but he would never know who I am,
Don't be surprised. He's got a very good memory.
Jay Wolfel, who's a very good friend of his.
Oh, yes, of course. I know Jay.
I know Jay, and through Jay I've met Jeff Burr, but I don't know that, like I said.
Jay Wolfel is part of that Film Geek Mafia.
Yeah, part of the USC Mafia.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, so getting the part of Leatherface was a walk-on almost for you.
Well, yeah.
Once you were on set, I mean, that was a huge Hollywood production. That's a sequel to a legacy film.
Yes.
And the first one not done by Tobe Hooper, which was, that had to be a little bit nerve-wracking for Jeff too.
That I can't speak to.
Right.
But it was, for me, it was about the most sublime thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
It's all I ever wanted to do when I moved to Hollywood was go to Hollywood, make movies with go to Hollywood, become a movie star, and make movies with my friends.
Yeah.
And that happened on that movie.
That's what you did, yeah.
All that happened on that movie.
And you got to work with K&B effects in their infancy.
K&B.
Before that late 80s, early 90s, K&B is what influenced my whole life. It's they were these tight group, just hammering out every horror franchise you could imagine, and I always loved that. So
I think
they're the masters right now. They have grown to beyond success.
I think that
they're rock stars.
Yeah, they're the summit of the makeup mountain.
Right. I got offered a position at K&B one time early on in my career. And I actually didn't even go in for the interview for it because I told myself, if I go there, I'm going to work there for the rest of my life. I'll be a shop guy, and I'm going to work there. Because I was already a shop guy. I worked for a guy named Matthew Mungle at WM Creations. Huge stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But I want to be the guy. I wanted to be Tom Savini. I didn't want to work for Tom Savini. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
I get
to
it.
go to work at K&B, I would have got to work on every film I ever cared to and been the guy that made molds or ran urethane for the rest of my life, but I wouldn't have been Tom Devlin. You know, I would have been K&B guy.
Right.
And so I chose a different path, for
No, I
better
get
or
it.
worse. But I wanted to do. I love low budget horror film. I wanted to work on Puppet Masters and Toxic Avenger and that stuff, and I've got to. My sad part of my career is when I was a kid, those Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw, I perceived those as indie films. I thought like, because that's the beginning of these, you know, you got the Renee Zellwegers that go on to be famous. You have Kevin Bacon who goes on, Johnny Depp. So I thought that was like a low budget indie film. And I thought that I would get to be part of like those franchises because in the late 80s, you have in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, every effects guy in the world working on one movie. You know, they'd bring them all together. John Buechler and John Vulich and Kevin Yeager and Howard Berger all on one movie. So I thought, I'll go work on a slasher film when I get to L.A. And then I found out that those movies are huge budgets. Like the new Friday the 13th is a $10 million movie. You know, that's not
Nothing to sneeze at.
That's not an entry level position anymore.
Yeah, right.
It used to be, but it's not anymore. And I think you were on the cusp. That Leatherface Part 3, to me, was maybe the beginning of like, we're not making indie films that play in drive-ins. This is going to theaters. This is designed for theaters.
Right.
Man, I can't imagine what it was. Where did you guys shoot that? Was it in Southern California?
Yeah, in Southern California.
Sable Ranch area or something?
No, up mostly behind Magic Mountain.
Okay, Santa Clarita area.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's right. I've heard that you could like hear the screams from the roller coasters in some
That's
of the
what they
shots.
say. I don't know.
I never heard it. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was mostly where everything was.
Had you met Ken Foree before that, or?
No, but I had been on the set of Dawn of the Dead.
Really? Because it was in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was.
When I was an aspiring stuntman, I just hiked on down to Pittsburgh and introduced myself to Tom Savini and said, "Here I am." You know?
What can you do with me?
Yeah, and it didn't really work out.
Right.
You know, because I wanted to do stunts, and I perceived that they were offering me just an extra role.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to be just an extra.
Right.
So I didn't end up working on the picture. But I saw Ken. I don't recall meeting him or talking to him.
On Texas Chainsaw, did you guys hit it off at all, or get time to?
Yeah.
He's just such a. I've met him a couple times, and he's such a genuine guy. Seems like just humble, you know, and also foreboding. He's huge like you.
Yes, he is.
You know, he doesn't. It's sometimes you can't tell on camera, but he's an enormous man.
Yes, he is.
But
yes.
So from Chainsaw, did you see right away that you were recognized as Leatherface, or did that come later? Like when the horror conventions and the popularity.
Well, you got to remember something. When that movie came out, there were only Fangoria conventions. You know, like once or twice a year.
One in New York and one in California.
Yeah. So it wasn't anything like it is today.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, I was recognized, of course.
I remember the Fangoria spreads of Leatherface, and I would always, as an aspiring artist, I always wanted every picture of every Leatherface I could find, and it was so hard to find clear lit photos of that mask. And you know, that's why I mentioned when I saw your photos the other day, I was like, man, I never could find that when I was a kid. But the always that red shot with the saw, and you know, from the poster, and there was quite a few black and white stills out there, but I never could find good. And then now there's action figures. There's your face is on everything that exists. It's crazy how fandom has just exploded in the last 20 years.
It is.
But once you went on to after Leatherface,
Yes.
I know you did Pumpkinhead, but what was the next big set that you went on after Leatherface?
Oh, well, after Leatherface, give me a minute to
Yeah.
scroll back in the Rolodex of my mind. Jeez. The next big one. I suppose the next really big one that I had a significant role in was Hatchet 2.
Hatchet 2.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if you know this, but I also worked on Hatchet 2.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a little known fact. I don't have credit on it, and I something went completely south with me and the effects team on that. They had called to rent a mold from me, a body mold. I said, yes, of course you can borrow it. I don't care.
Right.
You know, I want to just give me a special thanks on Hatchet 2. That's badass. And they ran out of time. John Buechler, who had done the original Hatchet, wasn't supervising Hatchet 2. It was
Correct.
his guys, Rob, I think, and
Yeah.
I knew a girl named Jen Rose. And,
Oh, Jen, yes, I remember her.
And so Jen asked to borrow the mold. I said, yeah, of course. And then at the last minute, they're like, actually, we don't want to borrow the mold. Could you just make us the body? And I was like, sure, I'll make a body. It was a female body that gets hidden into a tree. And I said, sure, I'll make it. But you got to pay for the supplies. And instead of paying for the supplies, they just dropped off some supplies. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll use what they gave me.
Okay.
And it was pretty subpar stuff. And it was really old, really brittle. It was silicone. And it was, I'm not placing blame anywhere. I just didn't go out of my own pocket to make it right. And I used what they gave me. And when I gave it to them, they really weren't happy with the quality of it. And I was like, well, I don't know what to say, so there was a weird thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they used it, and it's in the movie, but at the end of the day, I didn't get the credit on Hatchet 2, and I was like, I did all that work for nothing. But that was kind of a pain, because I love Hatchet. I love Hatchet. And when you showed up in Hatchet 2, and of course Tony Todd's in there,
Yeah.
and it's that all-star horror cast.
Don't forget Danielle Harris and Mr. Tom Holland.
Of course. And all of them are such awesome people. And Adam Green's been really good to the horror community by putting all those guys in there, And we also, on the podcast, talked Death House, and I saw you in Death House.
Yes.
That was the Expendables of horror, and we did a review on it, and I know the producer, Rick Finkelstein, and I'm very good friends with Phyllis Rose, and it didn't jade my view of the movie. I thought it was super original, way weird, and I really liked all of the horror cameos, because I'm always up for those. But I think it's awesome. I know you were in Trancers 3 as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
You got
Trancers 3.
You got to work with Charlie Band. We work heavily with Charlie Band. Was he involved much on Trancers 3? He wasn't there.
I don't think I don't even think I saw him.
Okay. Have you ever worked directly with Charlie Band? Do you have any kind of band camp experience?
No, I don't.
How was Trancers 3? Like, what did you think of? I mean, you got to work with Jack Death and
Yes, Tim Thomerson, who's absolutely fantastic.
And he's primarily a comedian, I've been told, which is
He started as a comedian.
I didn't know that. I always knew him as the dad from The Flash. But that's what he was in when I was a kid.
Yeah, but he does an imitation of Lee Marvin.
Yeah.
From Cat Ballou.
Yeah.
Drunk Lee Marvin from Cat Ballou that is so spot on and hilarious. It's great. Plus, he's just a great guy, I actually met him years before that. I think I was back at Paramount for a movie called Body Parts.
Oh, yeah, Body Parts.
Yeah, so I was sitting in the waiting room, and in came this white-haired guy that I'd seen in a million movies.
Right.
And, Fred Dreyer. And they were pals. And they were just hanging out together that day, and Tim Thomerson came in to audition for a part, and I introduced myself, or they introduced themselves. Hey, how you doing? I said, man, I've seen you in 100 movies. He goes, hey, how you doing? Tim Thomerson. I go, how you doing? He goes, Fred Dryer. I said, yes, I know who you are. Because, he was on Hunter and all that stuff. But Tim was great.
That's awesome.
And I really enjoyed working with him. And I really enjoyed working on that movie. I thought Courtney Joyner did a great job. He wrote it and directed it.
Yeah.
And, of course, Andrew J. Robinson was in it.
Yeah.
And
I have it on Laserdisc.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a big Trancers fan, and obviously I was a huge Full Moon fan growing up, and anything Trancers, Puppet Master, Subspecies, that whole world was all I cared about. But
Right.
But it was always cool to see in the Trancers flicks, they would always get some kind of mid-big names in there too. Like you had Helen Hunt in the first
Yeah,
one.
well, she was in Trancers 3 too, as well.
Yep, and and even seeing you, and I think your name was a Slash.
Shark.
I remember thinking, oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. All in that shark head.
Yeah.
My biggest disappointment with that movie was they were doing the backstage stuff, Oh, there you go. I did see Charlie Band. They were doing
A Video Zone.
A Video Zone.
Yeah.
And I was in the head, in the wardrobe and everything. I was sitting in my trailer, and I think Charlie Band, knocked on the door and he goes, "This is Shark." Say hi, Shark. Don't worry, you'll be seeing more of him in Trancers 4.
And then it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, what happens
in true form.
Yeah, what happens in Trancers 4? Hey, Jack Death, didn't you have a partner? Yeah, his name was Shark. What happened to him? Click on the light and it's Shark's head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I didn't get my trip to Romania. So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
I'm a nervous flyer anyway. I probably couldn't have made it.
Speaking of flying, I got to see what time it
I
is.
better check the time.
Clock's right here.
Whatever, I'll tell you right now.
8:45. We actually should probably wrap this up because we got to get this guy to the airport.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you, R.A., for coming out to Boulder City. Thanks for coming to the Monster Museum. Great to hear your stories. We'll wrap this one up. That one's in the bag.
Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure. It's been a fantastic weekend. I'm really appreciative that you thought of me and brought me out here. And I'm glad you're happy with the weekend because I'm happy as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Thank you.